problem I was discussing this morning was really the relationship of ecology to technology. The Taoists thought about the world in accordance with a different model than people in the West, a model that did not immediately permit of technological development. The West thought about nature by analogy with mechanics, with machines. The Chinese thought about nature by analogy with organisms. A machine is something which can be taken apart and reordered, something which is the product of an act of engineering and is therefore an organization with a governor. An organism is not made piecemeal. It grows and doesn't have a governor. All the parts in an organism are in an orderly anarchy. That is to say, they govern themselves. And the Chinese word for nature, zhiran, means that which is so of itself. Therefore, that which functions without being pushed around by some external force. That you really are the field of forces in which your organism is situated. Self-realization is, in fact, realizing as a sensuous experience that you are that field of forces, that you are both your outside and your inside, which of course leads us to something that we can experience but cannot define. And we can't define it for two reasons. One is it's too complicated, and another reason is, even deeper than that, it leads us to the root and ground of reality, the continuum in which all things exist. Which can't be. The eye, the brain, the organization of a plant are obviously intelligent. They are not products of intelligence. As if some intelligent fellow had been around and left this as a kind of track of his competence. The growth of a plant is intelligence itself. And intelligence is naturally something that in words would always escape definition. In the same way as the nervous system upon which intelligence depends is incomprehensible even to the neurologist. We know intelligence when we see it. And we recognize in the patterns of nature that this is happening. So when you see a human being and you say, what a piece of work is man. It's extraordinary. The beauty of the eyes, the marvelous organization and coordination of the limbs. But then you realize that this is you, but you don't know how you work it. And you do work it. So what it comes to is this, that in your total organization and nervous system, you are expressing a kind of intelligence that is, when looked at from the point of view of conscious analysis, unthinkably complex. And yet, from its own point of view, it's perfectly simple.
It is a curious thing, this tendency we all share, the urge to hold on to people, to hold on to ideas, to hold on to the stories we tell about who we are and what the world is. We clutch at memories of the past, as though replaying them might somehow make them last forever. We grip tightly at visions of the future, as if our grasp could bend time to obey our plans. And yet, in all this holding, we discover a strange weight. Instead of safety, it gives us a kind of suffocation. Instead of comfort, it makes us anxious, always fearing the moment when our grip might slip. Why do we hold on so desperately? It is because we have been taught that to let go is to lose. If I let go of this relationship, I will be abandoned. If I let go of this belief, I will be adrift. If I let go of control, everything will fall apart. And so, with clenched fists, we drag the baggage of yesterday into today and try to pack tomorrow into the same suitcase until we are exhausted under the sheer weight of it. But life, you see, is not meant to be carried like this. Life is a river, not a stone. It moves, it flows, it shifts. And when we try to grasp the current, we only end up with water slipping through our fingers. The tighter we hold, the more we realize we cannot truly hold at all. Consider for a moment the simple act of breathing. You breathe in, and then you must breathe out. If you try to only inhale, clinging to the air as though to lose it would mean to lose your life, you will suffocate. The very act of living requires release. It requires the rhythm of in and out, of taking and giving, of holding and letting go. And yet, when it comes to our attachments, we try to live as though we can only inhale, never exhale. The result is the same suffocation, but this time in our minds and our hearts. Look also at nature's trees. Each autumn, they shed their leaves, releasing what no longer serves them. They do not argue with the season. They do not cling to what has had its time. And because they let go, they are renewed. Spring comes and new leaves burst forth. Imagine if the tree resisted. Imagine if it gripped every leaf in panic, crying, "I cannot let this one go. It is mine. It defines me." What would happen? The tree would rot, unable to grow, unable to flourish. It is only in release that life finds its rhythm. But we, unlike the tree, tell ourselves stories. We imagine that if we let go, we will fall into emptiness. We imagine we are separate little beings standing against the tide of existence, and that if we do not hold on, the tide will wash us away. And so we resist, and we resist until the struggle becomes unbearable. Think of how we hold on to relationships that have already ended in spirit, afraid of the silence that might follow. We hold on to old identities. I am this kind of person. I cannot change. I must always live this way, even when the skin has grown too tight, like clothes from childhood that no longer fit. We hold on to resentments, to grievances, to past mistakes, dragging them behind us like heavy stones, all the while wondering why we feel so tired. But the truth is, letting go is not the opposite of love, nor the opposite of care. To let go is not to reject. It is to recognize the natural movement of things, just as waves rise and fall, just as days begin and end, just as lives appear and dissolve, so too does every form, every moment, follow the rhythm of arising and passing. To resist this rhythm is to resist life itself. It is like trying to stop a river with your hands. You may feel, for a brief instant, that you are succeeding, but soon the current pushes past, stronger than your grip, indifferent to your effort. And then you are left exhausted while the river flows on. But why do we resist so fiercely? Because we mistake holding for control. We believe that if we grip tightly enough, we can preserve what we love, secure what we fear to lose, or shape the future to our design. And yet, have you noticed? The things we cling to most fiercely are often the very ones that slip away. Think of the lover smothered by another's insecurity, who leaves not because of lack of love, but because they cannot breathe under the grip. Think of the person so obsessed with controlling every detail of their life that they leave no room for surprise, no room for spontaneity, and so they find themselves trapped in the very order they desired. Think of the one who cannot release the memory of a wound, and so carries it, reliving the pain again and again, as though it were happening now. In all of this, the fear of letting go is the fear of death in miniature. For to let go is to allow something to end, to allow a moment to pass, a form to dissolve, a self to change. And because we fear the great death, the dissolution of our own body, our own ego, we fear all the little deaths along the way. We imagine that by holding on, we can resist the great tide, keep ourselves intact, but in truth, it is the clinging that breaks us. You may notice this in the smallest of things. Try to hold water in a tight fist, and it escapes. Hold it gently, with an open palm, and it rests with you for a while. Try to clutch at love, and it suffocates. Let it breathe, and it grows. Try to force your life into rigid certainty, and it rebels. Allow it to flow, and it carries you further than you could have planned. So the problem is not that life takes things away. The problem is that we refuse to see that life is always taking and giving, always flowing, always changing. To demand permanence in a world of movement is to fight against the very essence of what is. The suffering of holding on is not only in the loss itself, but in the constant tension, the vigilance, the anxiety of guarding what cannot be guarded. Like a man clutching a rope that is fraying in his hands, we exhaust ourselves trying to prevent the inevitable. And in doing so, we miss the beauty of what is still here, still alive, still present. And so, you may notice, fear grows not from reality itself, but from the stories we weave. If I let this go, I will be nothing. If I release control, life will collapse. These are shadows of thought, not truths. For in fact, you are already letting go in every moment. You let go of each breath, or you would die. You let go of each moment, or time would freeze. You let go of sleep each morning, or the day could never begin. Letting go is already the rhythm of your being. You cannot resist it forever. You can only blind yourself to it. The great paradox is that by clinging, you do not preserve life, you smother it. By resisting change, you do not secure safety, you create fear. By holding on, you do not keep things as they are, you hasten their decay. And so, we must see clearly, the fear of letting go is born from an illusion, the illusion that we are separate from the flow, that life is something happening to us rather than as us. But once you see that you are the river itself, the need to clutch at each drop begins to fade. The beginning of wisdom is to see the cost of holding on, to see that it is not safety, but weight, not love, but suffocation, not freedom, but prison. Only when this is seen can the heart begin to loosen its grip. And so, as you sit here listening, perhaps you can feel in your own life what it is you are clutching. Perhaps a person, perhaps a story, perhaps an image of yourself. Feel the tension of it, the way it weighs upon you. Notice that it is not the thing itself that weighs you down, but the clinging. And see, if only for a moment, that there may be another way. If holding on binds us in tension, then letting go is the beginning of freedom. Yet, many hear this and immediately recoil. If I let go, won't I lose everything? Won't life spin into chaos? Won't I fall into nothingness? But you see, this is the illusion. For letting go does not mean falling into emptiness, it means falling into life. It means aligning yourself with the rhythm that has been carrying you all along. Think again of breathing. You let go of the breath not to die, but to live. The release makes room for the next inhalation, the next renewal. Imagine if you refuse to exhale, clinging desperately to the air as though your survival depended upon it. You would suffocate. The irony is clear. You live because you let go, again and again. This rhythm of release is everywhere. The trees let go of their leaves so that new growth may appear. The snake sheds its skin, or else it cannot expand. The earth itself shifts, quakes, moves, so that new mountains may rise, new valleys may form. To let go is not a failure of life, but its very condition. Now, notice what happens in you when you release. Perhaps you have experienced it already. You cling to some resentment, some injury from the past. You replay it, you nurse it, you rehearse the words you should have said, and then, one day, perhaps out of exhaustion, you let it go. And what do you feel? Relief, lightness. The world, unchanged in its outer form, suddenly appears brighter. The sky seems wider, the air easier to breathe. Nothing has changed but the grip of your hand, and in that small gesture, everything is transformed. So letting go is not loss, but transformation. It is not the end of love, but the beginning of freedom within love. For when you hold someone too tightly, you do not love them, you possess them. And possession strangles. To love is to let another be, to allow them the freedom of their own movement, their own becoming. And when you grant this, you discover something extraordinary, that love does not vanish when released. It grows, it deepens, it breathes. Letting go of control is much the same. You may imagine that unless you manage every detail, life will collapse into disorder. But in truth, life is already happening without your command. Your heart beats without your orders, your cells divide, your blood flows, your breath moves, the earth spins, the stars burn, all without your intervention. Control is a story, a game we play with ourselves. Life does not wait for your instructions. So what happens when you release this compulsion to control? At first, fear, because the ego imagines it is the master, and to surrender is to die. But beneath that fear is a discovery that life carries you more gracefully than you could ever carry yourself. Like a swimmer who finally stops thrashing and allows the water to hold them, you realize you are buoyant. You do not sink into chaos. You float into harmony. Now, letting go does not mean apathy. It does not mean turning your back on life or abandoning care. It means participating without clinging, engaging without grasping. It is like dancing with a partner. If you clutch at them, the dance is stiff and awkward. If you collapse and refuse to move, the dance cannot happen at all. But if you allow, give and take, guiding and yielding, the dance becomes alive, spontaneous, free. So it is with life. You are not to be a puppet, dragged helplessly, nor are you to be a tyrant, forcing every step. You are to be a dancer, moving with the rhythm, listening, responding, trusting. This is what the Chinese call wu wei, not forcing, not straining, but moving with the grain of the universe. Now, one of the greatest fears in letting go is the fear of death. We cling to life, imagining that if we grip hard enough, we can stave off the inevitable. But death is not the enemy. Death is the great letting go, and without it, life would not be. Just as sleep is necessary to renew the body, so death renews the cycle of existence. The leaf falls, but the tree lives on. The wave dissolves, but the ocean remains. And so, when you let go in small ways of a thought, of a grievance, of a fear, you are practicing the art of dying. You are rehearsing the great surrender that will one day come to us all. And in practicing it, you discover that death is not destruction, but renewal. What falls away makes room for what is to come. Even time itself teaches this. You cannot cling to a single moment. Try as you may to preserve it, the moment passes. The laughter fades, the embrace ends, the sunset gives way to night. And yet, this is not a tragedy, for the very passing makes room for what is next. If the day did not end, the night could not begin. If the note did not fade, the song could not continue. Life is not in the holding of one instant, but in the continuous flow from one to another. So, letting go is not abandonment. It is participation in the rhythm of existence. It is to see that you are not separate from the flow, standing against it, but the flow itself. You are not the hand clutching at the river. You are the river. And once this is seen, the fear begins to loosen. Now, notice in your own life where this might be so. Perhaps there is a person you cannot release, even though the time has passed. Perhaps there is a version of yourself you cling to, though it no longer fits. Perhaps there is a fear you rehearse endlessly, as if preparing for it could prevent it. And see, just for a moment, what it would feel like to open your hand, not to push it away, not to destroy it, but simply to release. Feel the lightness in that image, the freedom. This is the invitation of letting go. And here is the curious thing. When you let go, what is real does not vanish. Love remains, but it is free. The self remains, but it is flexible. Life remains, but it is lighter. What vanishes is the tension, the anxiety, the weight of clutching at shadows. You lose nothing but your chains. So the practice of letting go is not about throwing life away, but about finally receiving it. For as long as your hands are clenched, they cannot receive. Only the open hand can be filled. Only the relaxed heart can feel joy. Only the surrendered mind can discover peace. This is why the sages and mystics, again and again, spoke of surrender, not as defeat, but as liberation, not as loss, but as gain. To surrender is to see that you were never in control to begin with, and that this is not bad news, but the best news possible. For it means you are carried, sustained, supported by something far greater than the little I you believed yourself to be. So when you are afraid of letting go, remember this: you have been letting go all along. Each breath, each moment, each night's sleep, you have already practiced surrender countless times, and each time, life has continued. The fear is a story, not a reality. And when you release even a little, you discover the great secret. Life holds you. The ocean does not drop its waves. The sky does not abandon its clouds. The earth does not reject its children. You belong always. And letting go is the way you remember it. So let yourself soften. Let yourself breathe. Let the clenched fist open. The guarded heart relax. The worried mind fall silent. You will not fall into nothingness. You will fall into everything. For letting go is not the end. It is the beginning of freedom.
We live in a society that worships control. From the moment we are born, we are taught that life is a series of problems to solve, challenges to overcome, and goals to achieve. We believe that the more we organize, plan, and hold tightly to the reins of our existence, the safer and happier we will become. And yet, as we grow older, a strange contradiction emerges. The more we try to control life, the more life seems to resist us. The harder we grip, the faster it slips away. It is almost comical when you think about it. Consider the way we structure our days, meticulously planning every hour, anticipating every potential outcome, and attempting to predict the unpredictable. We wake up each morning with a mental checklist, a blueprint for how the day should unfold. And yet, in a single moment, the unexpected appears: a traffic jam, a delayed message, a sudden illness, and our carefully laid plans unravel. Frustration arises, and we label this as bad luck, when in reality, it is merely life refusing to be tamed. Control, as it turns out, is not a mastery of reality. It is an illusion, a mental construct that gives the appearance of stability while masking the inherent unpredictability of existence. We cling to it because it feels safe. We cling because to acknowledge the lack of control is to confront uncertainty, and uncertainty is terrifying. Yet the paradox is that this very attempt to hold tightly creates tension, anxiety, and fear. The more we try to secure life, the more fragile it becomes. Think of a child learning to walk. The child takes their first tentative steps, falling repeatedly, scraping knees, and wobbling with each attempt. The parent watches, worried, perhaps even wanting to intervene and prevent the stumbles. Yet, the child learns not through control or interference, but through experience, through trial and error, through the very act of letting the body and the world interact freely. This is life's natural way. The parent cannot stop every fall, just as we cannot stop the events of the universe from unfolding. The river does not pause to ask your permission before it flows. The wind does not stop for you to adjust your plans. The sun rises and sets without concern for your schedules or desires. And yet, there is a strange harmony in all of this, a rhythm that persists regardless of our attempts to manipulate it. When we resist this flow, we experience suffering. When we surrender, we experience life. Consider the metaphor of the river. We often stand on the banks, attempting to push the water in a direction we desire, thinking that by shaping it, we can achieve our goals. And yet, the river will always carve its own path, indifferent to our efforts. To fight the current is exhausting, painful, and ultimately fruitless. But to enter the river, to move with it rather than against it, is to discover a freedom that cannot be grasped through force. This is the essence of the illusion of control. It is the belief that we can bend life to our will, when in reality life is a river and we are merely travelers. It is not only external events we attempt to control, but also our inner world. We strive to manage our thoughts, suppress our emotions, and shape our identities into something stable and permanent. Yet the mind is a flowing river as well, constantly moving, changing, and evolving, attempting to hold a single thought, to cage a feeling, or to solidify a sense of self is like trying to trap water in your hands. It slips away, leaving only frustration and a sense of inadequacy. We must recognize that control is often a response to fear. We fear the unknown, the unpredictable, the unplanned. We fear that if we let go, we will lose ourselves, we will be swept away, we will fall into chaos. But the truth is that life is chaotic anyway. To cling is to resist the inevitable. To release is to embrace reality. There is a liberation in understanding that the need for control is optional, that it is a habit of the mind, not a requirement of existence. Let us consider the human desire for security. We work tirelessly to secure jobs, relationships, wealth, and possessions, believing that these external anchors will protect us from uncertainty. And yet, no matter how much we accumulate, the impermanence of life remains. Jobs end, relationships change, wealth can vanish, and bodies age. Security, when it is external, is always provisional. True stability is found not in controlling life, but in understanding its nature and participating fully in its flow. History is filled with examples of people who sought total control only to discover its futility. Emperors, kings, and rulers have tried to bend entire nations to their will, yet time, disease, and unforeseen events have always undermined their efforts. The lesson is clear. No matter how much power we accumulate, the universe remains unconcerned with our ambitions. The only freedom is to acknowledge this truth and live in accordance with it. This does not mean we become passive or indifferent. Participation in life is necessary, yet it is participation without attachment to outcomes. It is action guided by insight, not fear. It is engagement that is responsive rather than coercive, fluid rather than rigid. It is the difference between dancing with life and trying to wrestle it into submission. When we release the illusion of control, something profound happens. We become present. We notice the subtle textures of experience, the rustling of leaves, the warmth of sunlight, the sound of laughter. Life becomes vivid, alive, and immediate. We discover that the need to control often distracts us from the very experiences we seek to secure. By letting go, we are no longer trapped in anxiety about the future or regret over the past. We are free to encounter the world as it is, in all its beauty and unpredictability. And so, the first step toward freedom is awareness. Recognize the illusions you hold, the attempts at control that bind you, the fears that drive your grip, Observe them without judgment. Understand that these impulses are natural yet not necessary. Begin to loosen your hold, even in small ways. Let a conversation unfold without planning every word. Let a day pass without trying to predict every outcome. Let yourself feel fully without attempting to shape or suppress what arises. The journey is gradual. Letting go is not a single act but a continuous practice, a dance between effort and surrender. Each moment offers a chance to release a little more, to trust a little more, to participate more fully in the flow of life. The illusion of control begins to dissolve, replaced by a quiet, steady presence. And in that presence, a freedom emerges, a freedom that cannot be given, taken, or lost, because it was never bound in the first place. To understand why letting go feels right, we must first understand what it means to let go. Letting go is often misunderstood as giving up, as surrendering in defeat, as stepping away from life. But in truth, letting go is the acknowledgement of reality. It is the recognition that life is not a problem to solve, but a mystery to be experienced. It is the act of opening our hands, not to relinquish life, but to allow life to flow through us, unimpeded and unshaped by fear. Imagine standing in a forest. The trees rise high, each one unique, bending in the wind without resistance. The birds sing without rehearsal. The stream moves without effort. You cannot command these things, and yet they exist in harmony. The forest does not try to control itself. It's simply island. In observing this, something awakens within you. You sense the ease, the rhythm, the natural order of things. And you begin to understand that the act of controlling is not necessary for existence. It is participation, awareness, and presence that matter. Letting go is not about abandoning responsibility. It is about releasing the belief that we can enforce outcomes or cling to permanence. It is the difference between holding life like a fist and holding it like a hand open to the sky. The open hand does not resist. It does not suffocate. It allows, it receives, it participates. When we practice this in our daily lives, we find that life no longer feels like a battle, but like a dance. Each movement, whether expected or unforeseen, is part of the rhythm. Consider our emotions. We often try to control feelings, to suppress anger, sadness, or fear, believing that these states are dangerous or undesirable. And yet, by resisting them, we amplify them. By letting go, by acknowledging and feeling without judgment, we discover that emotions are like waves. They rise, they crest, they fall. They do not define us. They move through us. Letting go in this context means allowing the wave to pass rather than clinging to it or trying to stop it. In relationships, letting go means allowing others to be themselves without attempting to mold them into our expectations. It means loving without possession, listening without trying to fix, and participating without attachment. The freedom that arises from this openness is profound. Relationships transform from battles of control into spaces of genuine connection, understanding, and mutual respect. The world often tempts us to control, to predict, to plan. Yet the universe operates according to principles far greater than our design. Storms will arrive, paths will change, and life will surprise us in ways we cannot anticipate. Letting go does not mean ignoring these events. It means meeting them with a mind unbound by fear, with a heart open to possibility. It is the conscious decision to engage fully while acknowledging the limits of our power. Why does letting go feel right? Because it aligns us with the natural order. When we stop fighting against what is, tension dissipates. The mind relaxes, the heart opens, and we experience a sense of spaciousness. There is a subtle joy in this surrender, a quiet delight that arises from the recognition that we are not in charge, and that this is not only acceptable, but beautiful. Imagine a bird learning to fly. It does not cling to the branch forever. At some point, it must leap, trusting its wings, trusting the air, trusting the process. Life, in this sense, is always asking us to take flight, to let go of the false safety of control, and to trust the journey. When we leap, we discover that the world supports us in ways we could not have imagined. We are carried, held, and guided by the flow of existence. Letting go also reveals the richness of the present moment. When we are no longer preoccupied with controlling the future or clinging to the past, we notice the subtleties of life, the laughter of a friend, the warmth of sunlight, the quiet rhythm of our own breath. Life, in all its simplicity and complexity, is fully present. And in being fully present, we discover a profound contentment that no amount of control can provide. The practice of letting go is continuous. It requires awareness, courage, and patience. Each day, we are presented with opportunities to release small grips, to loosen our hold, to trust more deeply. Over time, these small acts accumulate, transforming our experience of life. The illusion of control fades, replaced by a steady, gentle confidence in the flow of existence. In letting go, we find that life itself is enough. We do not need to manipulate, to engineer, or to dominate. The world is alive, vibrant, and unfolding in its own way. By surrendering the need to control, we participate in a dance far greater than ourselves. We discover freedom, joy, and an effortless presence that cannot be manufactured, only realized. So release. Release with trust, release with curiosity, release with love. Allow life to move through you, shaping and guiding you in ways your mind could never anticipate. In this letting go, you will find that you are not losing anything, you are gaining everything. A life lived fully, freely, and beautifully.
At a certain point, many people experience something strange they didn't see coming. Things that once delighted them, activities that once filled them with enthusiasm and pleasure, suddenly seem to lose their savor. The music doesn't move them anymore. The food doesn't taste as it used to. The company of friends feels hollow. Even the pursuits they once considered their greatest passions, reading, walking in nature, creating things, all of it becomes somehow flat, colorless, without the spark that once made life feel worth living. And naturally, when this happens, people become frightened. They think something has gone terribly wrong. They believe they've become depressed, that they're ill, that there's some chemical imbalance in their brain that needs correcting, or they think they've simply become cynical, jaded, that life has worn them down and they've lost their capacity for joy. And they ask themselves, with genuine desperation, what's happened to me? Why can't I feel anything anymore? But what if I told you that this loss of joy, this apparent flatness of experience, is not necessarily a problem at all? What if this state that seems like death is actually a kind of birth? What if the disappearance of joy as you knew it is simply making room for something else, something you haven't yet recognized, because you're still looking for the old feelings, the old excitements, the old ways of being moved? Let me explain what I mean. You see, most of what we call joy or pleasure in ordinary life is really a kind of relief. It's the satisfaction of a want, the filling of a lack, the scratching of an itch. You're hungry, and then you eat, and there's pleasure in that. But notice the pleasure depends on the hunger. Without the hunger, the eating is just mechanical. You're lonely, and then someone pays attention to you, and there's joy in that. But the joy depends on the loneliness. Without the sense of lack, the attention doesn't move you. This is what the Buddha was pointing at when he said that life is suffering, or more accurately, that life is unsatisfactoriness. Not that everything is miserable, but that this constant cycle of wanting and getting, of lacking and filling, of itching and scratching, is inherently unstable. It's based on a sense of incompleteness, of something missing, of not being quite enough as you are. And so we spend our lives chasing these little moments of relief, these brief satisfactions. When a want is filled, we call this happiness, we call this joy. But it's really just the temporary cessation of discomfort. It's like someone hitting you on the head with a hammer and then stopping, and you feel relieved, and you call that relief pleasure. But the question nobody asks is, why were you being hit with a hammer in the first place? Now, what happens to some people, and this is what's happening to you if you're experiencing this loss of joy, is that they begin to see through this game. They begin to recognize that all these pleasures they've been chasing are really just escapes from discomfort. And once you see this, once you really understand it, the old joys don't work anymore. The scratching doesn't satisfy the itch because you've realized that you're creating the itch in order to enjoy the scratching. It's like a drug addict who takes a drug to feel good, but the drug itself creates the need for more of the drug. The relief the addict gets from taking the drug is really just the temporary cessation of the withdrawal symptoms caused by the drug itself. Once you see this pattern, the whole thing collapses. The pleasure loses its appeal because you've seen through it. This is what's happened to you. You've seen through the game of seeking pleasure and avoiding pain. You've recognized, perhaps not intellectually, but in your bones, that all these joys you were pursuing were really just elaborate ways of running away from yourself, from the present moment, from what simply is. And so now you're left in this strange state. The old pleasures don't work. The old excitements don't excite. You've lost your capacity to be distracted, to be taken out of yourself by experiences and sensations. And this feels like death. It feels like something essential has been taken from you. Like you've become a ghost, going through the motions of life but not really living it. But here's what you must understand. This state is not an end. It's a transition. It's the space between the old way of experiencing life and a new way that you haven't discovered yet. You're in the gap, and the gap is terrifying because there's nothing to hold on to. The old structures have collapsed, but the new hasn't yet emerged. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine you've been living your whole life in a room lit by candles. The candlelight creates all these interesting shadows on the walls, dancing shapes that fascinate you. You spend your time watching the shadows, being entertained by them, finding meaning in their patterns. This is like the ordinary joys of life. They're real enough in their way, but they're really just flickering shadows created by the limited light source. Now, what happens if someone opens a door and bright daylight streams in? At first, the light is so bright it's almost painful. You can't see anything clearly. Everything is washed out. And all those fascinating shadows that kept you entertained, they've disappeared, vanished in the bright light. And you might think, this is terrible. I've lost all the interesting patterns. Everything's become bland and featureless. But you're not seeing clearly yet. Your eyes haven't adjusted to the daylight. Once they do, you'll realize that you haven't lost anything. You've gained everything. You're seeing reality directly now, not just its shadows. And this direct seeing is so much richer, so much more real than the shadow play you were watching before. But it's a different kind of richness. It doesn't have the same quality as the shadows. It's not entertainment. It's something else entirely. This is what's happening when nothing brings you joy anymore. The old shadow play has stopped working, but you haven't yet learned to see in the daylight. You're in that transitional period where the old is gone, but the new isn't yet clear. And this period can last quite a while. It's not something you can rush. Your eyes must adjust at their own pace. Now, the usual response to this state is to try desperately to get the old joys back. People throw themselves into new hobbies, new relationships, new experiences, hoping to rekindle that spark. Or they turn to stronger stimulations, louder music, more intense sensations, more dramatic experiences, like someone whose taste buds have become dulled, trying hotter and hotter spices to feel something, anything. But this doesn't work. In fact, it makes things worse. Because what's really needed is not more stimulation, but less. What's needed is to stop running, stop seeking, stop trying to fill the emptiness with experiences and sensations. What's needed is to simply be with what is, without trying to make it into something else. And here's the extraordinary thing that happens when you do this. When you stop trying to manufacture joy, you discover that there's something present that was always there, but that you never noticed because you were too busy chasing after pleasures. It's not exactly joy in the old sense. It's more like an okayness, a fundamental sense that everything is all right exactly as it is. Not that everything is perfect or pleasurable, but that it's complete. It's enough. It doesn't need anything added to it.
The old joys were based on contrast. Good times versus bad times. Pleasure versus pain. Excitement versus boredom. But this new state, this okayness, doesn't depend on contrast. It's there all the time, whether things are going well or poorly, whether you're comfortable or uncomfortable, whether you're experiencing pleasure or pain. It's like discovering that you've been living in a house your whole life, rushing from room to room looking for something, and then suddenly realizing that what you were looking for was the house itself. It was there all along. You were standing in it. You are it. But you couldn't see it because you were too busy searching. Now, I must warn you about something. When I describe this state as an okayness or a fundamental sense that everything is all right, you might think this sounds rather dull. You might think, is that all there is? Just being okay with things? That doesn't sound very exciting. And you're right, it's not exciting in the way the old pleasures were exciting. It doesn't have that quality of peak experience, of highs and lows, of drama and intensity. But here's what you must understand. Excitement is exhausting. Drama is exhausting. The constant pursuit of peak experiences is exhausting. You can't live at that pitch all the time. What happens is that you have these brief moments of intensity and then long periods of deflation while you wait for the next high. The lows get lower and lower, and you need stronger and stronger stimuli to achieve the same highs. This is the addict's pattern, and most people are addicted to experience, to sensation, to the drama of their own lives. They're constantly generating problems so they can solve them, creating tensions so they can release them, stirring up emotions so they can feel alive, and they call this joy, but it's really just agitation. What you've lost, when nothing brings you joy anymore, is your addiction to this pattern. And like any addict going through withdrawal, you feel terrible. You feel empty, flat, dead. But what you're really experiencing is the absence of agitation. And at first, the absence of agitation feels like death because you've been agitated for so long that you've forgotten what it's like to simply be at rest. Let me tell you about a man I knew once. He was tremendously energetic, always doing something, always pursuing some new project or pleasure. He traveled constantly, collected experiences like some people collect stamps, was always reading, always learning, always seeking out new sensations. And he was proud of this. He thought he was really living, squeezing every drop out of life. Then something happened, I don't know exactly what, perhaps just the accumulation of years, and he lost his enthusiasm. All those activities that had seemed so important suddenly seemed pointless. Travel bored him. Books couldn't hold his attention. Food all tasted the same. And he became quite depressed about this. He thought his life was over, that he'd become old and worn out. But then, after some time in this state, something shifted. He told me that one day he was sitting in his garden, doing nothing in particular, just sitting there, and he suddenly realized that he was completely content. Not excited, not entertained, just simply content, present, here. And he understood that all his previous rushing around had been a kind of running away. He'd been afraid of this simple being here, so he'd filled his life with constant activity and stimulation to avoid it. And now that all the activity had dropped away, he'd discovered what he'd been running from, just this moment, this breath, this being alive. And it was enough, more than enough. It was everything. But it wasn't exciting or dramatic, so his mind had dismissed it as nothing, as emptiness, as death. Only when he stopped demanding that life be exciting did he discover that life is extraordinary in its ordinariness. This is what I'm trying to point you toward. When nothing brings you joy anymore in the old way, you're being invited to discover a different quality of experience. Not the ups and downs of pleasure and pain, but something more subtle, more constant, more fundamental. But you can't force this discovery. You can't make it happen. In fact, trying to make it happen is exactly what prevents it. It's like trying to fall asleep. The harder you try, the more wakeful you become. You have to give up trying. You have to surrender to not knowing, to not feeling, to this apparent emptiness. And this is perhaps the most difficult thing anyone can be asked to do. Because we're so afraid of emptiness. We think emptiness is death, is meaninglessness, is the absence of life. But actually, emptiness is potential. It's the space in which something new can emerge. As long as you're full of seeking and striving and trying to recapture old joys, there's no room for anything new. You must become empty. Not empty in a negative sense, but empty like a bowl is empty, empty so it can receive, empty so it can be filled. But not filled with the old things, filled with something you don't yet have a name for. Now, I know this is not what you wanted to hear. You wanted me to tell you how to get your joy back, how to feel things again the way you used to. But I can't tell you that, because what you're experiencing is not a problem to be solved. It's a transition to be gone through, like a caterpillar dissolving in the cocoon before it becomes a butterfly. The caterpillar is finished. It can't go back to being a happy caterpillar, but it's not yet a butterfly. It's just mush. And if the mush could think, it would probably be quite distressed about its condition. You're the mush right now. And I'm telling you, this is not a mistake. This is the process. Stay with it. Don't try to escape from it. Don't try to manufacture fake joys to fill the emptiness. Just be with what is. Be with the flatness, the colorlessness, the apparent meaninglessness. Let it be exactly as it is without trying to fix it or understand it or make it into something else. And gradually, not according to your timetable, but in its own time, something will shift. Not back to the old way, but forward into something new. A new way of experiencing life that doesn't depend on contrast, that doesn't require stimulation, that finds sufficiency in the bare fact of existing. This is what the mystics have always pointed to. Not some ecstatic state of constant bliss that's just another form of the old seeking, but a deep okayness that persists through all states, pleasant and unpleasant alike. A recognition that you are, in the deepest sense, all right, not because everything in your life is going well, but because your life, your existence, is fundamentally complete, exactly as it is. The old joys were like trying to improve a sunset by throwing more colors at it. The new recognition is that the sunset is already perfect, doesn't need improvement, doesn't need anything added to it or taken away from it. It's complete in itself, and so are you. And so is this moment. And so is your life, even in this seemingly joyless state. But I must emphasize again, you cannot make this recognition happen. You cannot achieve this state. Any effort to get there pushes it away, because effort implies that something is lacking, that you're not already complete. The recognition can only come when you stop trying, when you give up, when you surrender completely to what is. And even then, it may not come, or it may come and go, or it may come in such a subtle way that you don't even notice it at first. It's not dramatic. It's not exciting. It doesn't feel like you thought enlightenment would feel. It's more like coming home, like taking off tight shoes, like exhaling after holding your breath too long. So what do you do in the meantime? While you're in this state where nothing brings joy, you do what needs to be done. You brush your teeth, you eat your meals, you go about your daily business. But you do it without the expectation that these activities should make you happy. You do them simply because they're what's here to be done, not with resignation or bitterness, but with a kind of neutral acceptance. And you watch. You observe this state you're in without judging it, without trying to change it. You become interested in it, curious about it, not in a clinical way, but with the kind of interest you might have in watching clouds move across the sky. Just watching, without needing the clouds to be different than they are. And, most importantly, you stop comparing. Stop comparing your current state with how you used to feel. Stop comparing yourself with people who seem to be having a good time. Stop comparing this moment with some imagined future moment when everything will be better. Just be here, now, with what is. This is not resignation. It's not giving up. It's actually the opposite. It's fully showing up for your life as it actually is, rather than constantly wishing it were different. And paradoxically, it's only when you stop wishing things were different that anything can truly change. Because what's blocking the new experience, the new way of being, is your insistence that things should be like they were before. Your nostalgia for the old joys, your memory of how things used to feel, your expectation that life should return to that familiar pattern, all of this is preventing you from seeing what's actually here now. Let me give you one final thought. Perhaps the reason nothing brings you joy anymore is that you've outgrown joy as you knew it. Perhaps you've become too big for those small pleasures, too deep for those shallow satisfactions. Not because you're better than other people, but simply because your consciousness has expanded and the old containers can no longer hold what you've become. A child is delighted by candy. A young person is thrilled by romance and adventure. A mature person finds satisfaction in accomplishment and recognition. But there comes a point, for some people, when all of these things are seen through, when they're recognized as temporary, conditional, ultimately unsatisfying. And then what? Then you're thrown back on existence itself, on the bare fact of being alive, of being conscious, of being here. And this can seem like nothing at all compared to the excitement of candy and romance and accomplishment. But actually, it's everything. It's the ground from which all those other things arose. It's what was there before you learned to seek pleasure and avoid pain. It's what remains when all the seeking stops. And it's not nothing. It's not emptiness in the negative sense. It's fullness. It's wholeness. It's completion. But it's so simple, so ordinary, so undramatic that the mind overlooks it constantly, always seeking something more exciting, more stimulating, more special. What you're being asked to discover is that there is nothing more special than this moment, this breath, this simple fact of being alive. Not because it makes you feel good, not because it's pleasurable, but because it's real. It's what is. And what is enough. It's always been enough. You just forgot for a while. So when nothing brings you joy anymore, don't despair. You haven't lost your capacity for feeling. You've lost your addiction to a particular kind of feeling. And in that loss, there's an opening, a possibility, a doorway into a different way of being human. Walk through that doorway.
You know, there's something rather curious about human relationships. We walk through life believing that the people closest to us, those we love, those we trust, have our best interests at heart. And perhaps they do. Or perhaps we've confused their needs with our well-being. Perhaps we've become so accustomed to saying yes that we've forgotten what it feels like to say no. And so we carry on, nodding along, extending ourselves, stretching ourselves thin, until one day we look in the mirror and wonder where we went. When did we become this person who lives entirely for others? Now, I want you to consider something. If you were to sit quietly for just a moment, really quietly, and ask yourself, when was the last time I did something purely for myself? What answer would come? Would it be last week, last month, last year? Or would you discover, with a touch of sadness, that you can't quite remember, because somewhere along the way, you stopped mattering to yourself. You became a resource, a solution. A pair of hands to fix what others have broken, and nobody asked if you were tired. Nobody wondered if you needed rest. They simply assumed you'd always be there, ready to give, ready to help, ready to sacrifice. This is what we're going to talk about today, not the grand tragedies of life, but the small, quiet thefts. The ways people ask things of you that steal your peace, drain your energy, and leave you wondering why you feel so empty. Because you see, it's not always obvious. They don't come with a sign saying, I'm about to take advantage of you. No, they come with tears, with guilt, with phrases like, but you're my father, or you're my sister, or if you loved me, you would. And before you know it, you're carrying a weight that was never meant to be yours. So let me share with you 5 things that people will ask of you. 5 things that sound reasonable on the surface, but are anything but. And more importantly, why staying away from people who make these requests might be the wisest thing you ever do. The first thing people will ask is for you to carry their responsibilities as if they were your own. Have you noticed this pattern? Someone close to you, perhaps a son, a daughter, a sibling, comes to you with a problem. Not just any problem, but their problem. And they present it in such a way that suddenly It becomes your emergency. They say things like, I don't know what to do, or I'm really struggling, or can you help me? And because you love them, because you want to be helpful, you step in. You offer advice, you offer money, you offer your time. And what begins as a single favor becomes a permanent arrangement. Before long, you're not just helping. You're doing it for them. You're making their phone calls. You're covering their bills. You're raising their children while they go off to live their lives. And when you dare to suggest that perhaps they should handle some of this themselves, you're met with shock, with hurt feelings, with accusations of being selfish or uncaring. How dare you withdraw your support? Don't you know they need you? Let me ask you something. When did their inability to manage their own life become your life sentence? Because that's what it is, isn't it? You sacrifice your rest, your comfort, your dreams, all so they can continue avoiding what they should have faced long ago, their own responsibilities. Think of it like this. Imagine you're walking along a path carrying your own backpack. It's heavy enough. It contains your worries, your plans, your needs. And then someone comes along and says, here, can you carry mine too? Just for a little while. So you take it, because you're kind. But then another person appears, and another, and before you know it, you're bent double under the weight of everyone else's baggage while they walk freely ahead, unencumbered, expecting you to keep up. This is not help. This is exploitation dressed up as love. And the cruelest part is that the more you give, the more they expect. They don't see your struggle because they're too busy enjoying their freedom. And when you finally collapse from exhaustion, they won't be there to pick you up. They'll be puzzled, perhaps even annoyed, that you can no longer serve them. You are not a support system for adults who refuse to support themselves. You are not a safety net for people who keep jumping off cliffs expecting you to catch them. At some point, and that point is now, you have to ask yourself why you're doing this. Is it really love? Or is it fear? Fear of being seen as selfish? Fear of being disliked? Fear of setting a boundary and watching them walk away. But here's what they don't tell you. The people who walk away when you set boundaries are the same people who were never truly there for you in the first place. They were there for what you could provide. And the moment you stop providing, the relationship ends, which tells you everything you need to know about its true nature. So let me be very clear. If someone is asking you to carry what they should be carrying themselves, if they're turning their problems into your problems, if they're making you responsible for their happiness, their finances, their choices, you have every right to say no. Not maybe, not we'll see, no. Because your life is not a rescue mission for people who won't save themselves. The second thing people will ask is to borrow money with no intention of returning it. Oh, this is a delicate one, isn't it? Because money and relationships, they mix like oil and water. Someone you care about approaches you, they're in trouble, they need money. Not a lot, they say, just enough to get by. Just to cover this bill or that emergency or this one-time situation, and they absolutely promise they'll pay you back. Next week, next month, as soon as things get better. So you lend it because you want to help, because you believe their promise, because you think, well, if I were in their position, I'd hope someone would help me. And at first it feels good. You've solved their problem. You've been the hero. You've proved your love. But then something interesting happens. Or rather, something doesn't happen. The money doesn't come back. And when you gently mention it, they look hurt. They remind you of their struggles. They suggest that you're being insensitive bringing it up. Or they promise again, soon, very soon. And you believe them, because you want to believe them. Months pass, maybe years. And that money you lent has vanished into a black hole. But worse than losing the money is what you've lost in the relationship. Because now there's tension. There's resentment. Every time you see them, You think about what they owe you. And they know you're thinking about it. And instead of addressing it honestly, they avoid you. Or they act as if nothing happened. Or they ask to borrow more. Let me tell you what's really happening here. When someone borrows money with no real plan to return it, they're not borrowing, they're taking. And they're counting on your discomfort with conflict to let them get away with it. They know that bringing up money feels vulgar, feels cheap, feels like you're putting dollars above relationship. So they use your own values against you. Your generosity, your kindness, your reluctance to make things awkward. But think about this. If they truly valued the relationship, would they put it at risk by taking your money? If they truly respected you, would they make promises they have no intention of keeping? Of course not. What they're really saying is that their temporary comfort matters more than your financial security, that their wants outweigh your needs, that you exist as a bank they can withdraw from without ever making a deposit. And here's the painful truth. Lending money rarely solves the real problem, because if someone is in financial trouble, a loan from you is just a patch. It might cover this month's crisis, but it won't fix the behavior that created the crisis in the first place. Next month, there will be another emergency, another need, another request. And if you've already lent once, they'll see you as an easy target, a reliable source, someone who can't say no. Now, some of you might be thinking, but what if it's a real emergency? What if they genuinely need help? And I would say this. There's a difference between helping someone in crisis and enabling someone's pattern. A real emergency is rare. It's the medical bill that comes out of nowhere, the car breaking down when they need it for work, the unexpected loss of income through no fault of their own. And even then, even in genuine emergencies, a person of integrity will do everything in their power to repay you. They'll set up a plan. They'll make regular payments, even small ones. But if someone is coming to you regularly, if their life seems to be one emergency after another, if they always need just a little more to get by, then you're not dealing with bad luck. You're dealing with bad choices, and your money won't fix that. It will only postpone the inevitable moment when they have to face their own patterns and change them. So what do? You protect yourself. You recognize that lending money to people who won't return it is not generosity, it's foolishness. And you have worked too hard, sacrificed too much, to watch your savings disappear into someone else's bottomless need. Your financial security is not a negotiable item. Your peace of mind is not for sale, and anyone who asks you to risk either is not thinking about your well-being. They're thinking only of themselves. If someone truly needs help, there are other ways to provide it. You can offer advice. You can help them create a budget. You can point them toward resources. But handing over money, especially significant amounts, especially without a clear agreement about repayment, is asking for trouble. And at this stage of your life, trouble is the last thing you need. The third thing people will ask is for you to choose sides in conflicts that have nothing to do with you. This one is particularly insidious because it comes wrapped in loyalty. Someone you love is fighting with someone else you love. Maybe it's your children arguing with each other. Maybe it's a sibling feud. Maybe it's extended family drama. And suddenly, you're pulled in. They come to you, each side, each person, presenting their case, explaining why they're right and the other is wrong. And then comes the question, the trap. Whose side are you on? What a terrible position to be in. Because the moment you choose, you lose. If you side with one, you alienate the other. If you try to stay neutral, both sides accuse you of not caring. And if you attempt to mediate, to bring peace, you often end up blamed by everyone when the peace doesn't hold. Let me tell you what's happening here. These people are not really asking for your wisdom or your help. They're asking you to validate their position. They want you to confirm that they're the victim, that they're justified, that the other person is entirely at fault. And by pulling you in, they're trying to build an army, trying to gather supporters, trying to win not through being right, but through having more people on their side. But think about this carefully. What do you gain by getting involved, even if you successfully mediate and bring temporary peace? What have you really accomplished? Because people who are truly ready to resolve their conflicts will resolve them with or without you. And people who aren't ready will simply fight again, probably over something just as trivial, and once again expect you to referee. Meanwhile, what do you lose? Your peace, your neutrality, your ability to love both parties without reservation. Because once you've taken a side, once you've said this one is right and that one is wrong, you've created a division that may never fully heal. Every future interaction will be colored by that choice. Every holiday gathering will carry tension. Every phone call will require careful navigation. And for what? To solve a problem that isn't yours, to referee a fight between grown adults who should be capable of handling their own disagreements. That's not wisdom. That's volunteering for unnecessary suffering. There's an old saying, when two people are fighting, the third person who gets involved gets hit by both. And it's true. Because no matter how carefully you try to be fair, no matter how much you try to see both sides, at some point each person will feel you didn't support them enough. Each will remember not what you did for them, but what you didn't do. And your reward for trying to help will be resentment from all directions. So what's the answer? Simple. Don't get involved. When someone comes to you with their grievances, you listen. You acknowledge their feelings. But you do not take sides. You do not become their champion. You do not carry messages back and forth between warring parties like some kind of emotional postal service. You say, with kindness but firmness, this is between you and them. I love you both. I'm not taking sides. Work it out yourselves. Will they like this answer? Probably not. They may push back. They may try to guilt you. They may suggest that if you really loved them, you'd support them, but hold your ground. Because what you're really doing is respecting everyone involved. You're respecting their ability to solve their own problems. You're respecting the relationship by not poisoning it with resentment. And most importantly, you're respecting yourself by refusing to be used as a weapon in someone else's war. Your job at this stage of life is not to fix every broken relationship in your family. Your job is to maintain your own peace. To love people without becoming entangled in their drama. To be available without being involved. And that requires boundaries. The clear, firm, loving boundaries that say, I care about you, but I won't be pulled into this. The fourth thing people will ask is for you to change who you are to make them comfortable. Now we're getting to something really interesting. Because this request comes in many forms. Sometimes it's direct, sometimes it's subtle. But the message is always the same. You are too much, or not enough, or wrong, or outdated, or embarrassing. And they, in their infinite wisdom, know how you should be instead. Maybe it's your clothing. They say you dress too old-fashioned, or too young, or too bright, or too plain. Maybe it's your opinions. They want you to stop talking about certain things, stop holding certain views, stop being so set in your ways. Maybe it's your hobbies. They think what you enjoy is silly, or boring, or beneath you. Or maybe it's bigger than that. Maybe they want you to change your entire lifestyle, move somewhere else, live differently, be different. And here's what makes this particularly painful. These requests usually come from people who claim to love you. They're not strangers criticizing you from a distance. They're family, close friends, people whose opinions you value. And they frame their demands as concern. They say they're worried about you. They say they just want what's best. They say if you'd only change this one thing, everything would be better. But let me ask you something. Better for whom? Because when someone asks you to change something fundamental about yourself, they're not thinking about your happiness. They're thinking about theirs. They're uncomfortable with who you are. They're embarrassed by you. Or they have some image in their mind of who you should be, and you're not matching it. And rather than accepting you as you are, they want to reshape you into something more convenient for them. Think about what they're really asking. They're asking you to pretend, to put on a mask, to hide the parts of yourself that make you unique. They're asking you to trade your authenticity for their approval. And that's not a fair trade. That's not even close to a fair trade. Because who are you without your quirks, without your preferences, without the things that light you up and make you who you are? Here's what's fascinating. The people who ask you to change are often the ones who haven't done much changing themselves. They haven't examined their own lives. They haven't questioned their own assumptions. They simply follow the crowd, do what's expected, and then demand that you do the same. And when you resist, when you insist on being yourself, they become offended. But you've lived long enough to know something they apparently haven't learned. That the opinions of others are just that. Opinions. Not facts, not laws, not requirements. Just thoughts in someone else's head about how they think you should live your life. And you are under no obligation to live according to someone else's thoughts. Now, I'm not saying you should never grow or change. Growth is beautiful. Learning is necessary. But there's a vast difference between changing because you to become better and changing because someone else can't accept who you are. One comes from within, the other comes from fear. One expands you, the other diminishes you. So when someone suggests you need to be different, pause. Ask yourself, is this about genuine growth or is this about their discomfort? Is this suggestion actually helpful? Or is it asking me to shrink so they can feel bigger? And if the answer is the latter, if what they're really saying is, be less yourself so I can be more comfortable, then the answer is no. Not maybe. Not I'll think about it. No. Because here's the thing they don't understand. You've earned the right to be yourself. You've lived through enough years, enough experiences, enough trials to know who you are. You've paid your dues. You've learned your lessons. And if someone can't accept that, if your authenticity is too much for them to handle, that tells you everything you need to know about the relationship. It tells you they love an idea of you more than they love the actual you. And that's not real love. That's not real friendship. That's a transaction where you perform and they approve. And you're too old for performances. So wear what makes you happy. Listen to the music that speaks to your soul. Hold the opinions you've formed through decades of living. Be exactly who you are. And let those who can't accept it find somewhere else to direct their criticism. Because you didn't come this far to start hiding now. The fifth thing people will ask is for you to sacrifice your peace for their comfort. This is perhaps the most insidious request of all, because it doesn't usually come as a direct ask. Instead, it arrives as expectation, as assumption, as emotional manipulation dressed up as relationship. It looks like this. Someone in your life is unhappy. Maybe they're struggling with their choices. Maybe they're in a situation of their own making. Maybe they're just generally dissatisfied with life. And rather than dealing with their unhappiness themselves, they expect you to fix it, to absorb it, to make it your problem. They call at all hours, needing to talk. They show up unannounced, expecting comfort. They lean on you emotionally, financially, practically, until you're bent double under the weight. And if you try to create space, if you try to set limits, they respond with hurt. How can you be so cold? Don't you care? Don't you love me? What they're really saying is this: My emotional state is more important than yours. My needs matter more than your peace. You should sacrifice your serenity so I don't have to deal with my discomfort. And that's not a reasonable ask. That's emotional tyranny. Because let me be clear about something. You cannot carry someone else's emotional burdens without drowning in them. You cannot fix another person's unhappiness. You cannot love them enough, help them enough, sacrifice enough to make them whole. That work, that deep internal work of finding peace and contentment, that's their job, not yours. But many people, especially those who've spent their lives caring for others, fall into this trap. They think love means endless availability. They think caring means never saying no. They think if they just try hard enough, give enough, sacrifice enough, they can save the other person from their pain. But it doesn't work that way. Because what you're really teaching them is that they don't have to take responsibility for their own emotional life. You become their crutch, their emotional support animal. And the more you provide, the more they lean, until you're both falling down. So here's what needs to happen. You need to protect your peace like it's the most precious thing you own, because it is. Peace of mind, calm, the ability to wake up without dread, to move through your day without constant anxiety. That's not a luxury. That's life itself. And anyone who asks you to give it up for their sake is asking too much. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you become cold or distant. It means you love people without losing yourself. You support them without drowning in their problems. You care without carrying what they should be carrying themselves. And when they push back, when they accuse you of being selfish or uncaring, you stand firm, because you know the truth. Taking care of yourself is not selfish, it's necessary. And anyone who truly loves you would want you to have peace, not give it away. So there you have it. 5 things people will ask of you that you must refuse. To carry their responsibilities, to lend money you'll never see again, to choose sides in their conflicts, to change who you are, to sacrifice your peace for their comfort. And if you're wondering how to actually do this, how to say no when you've spent a lifetime saying yes, here's your answer. You do it with love, but you do it firmly. You don't explain endlessly. You don't justify. You don't negotiate. You simply state your boundary, and then you hold it. Because here's what nobody tells you. The people who respect you will accept your boundaries. They might not like them. They might be disappointed. But they'll respect them. And the people who don't respect your boundaries, well, they've just shown you who they really are. And that's valuable information. You've lived long enough to know that life is short. That time is precious. That peace once lost is hard to regain. So protect it. Guard it. Refuse to give it away for any reason to any person, no matter how much they claim to need it. Your life belongs to you, not to their expectations, not to their demands, not to their comfort, to you. And the most radical thing you can do it yourselves is simply live it on your own terms. Some people say awakening kills your motivation, that once you wake up and see through the game, you won't want to play anymore. And perhaps you felt that yourself. You start asking, if life is just an illusion, why bother? Why chase goals? Why work hard? Why get out of bed at all? It's a strange feeling, isn't it? To look at the world and suddenly see the shine come off. Like the prizes you once chased don't quite sparkle the way they used to. And yet, that's where many men find themselves. You've built, you've worked, you've carried the weight. But when the game no longer fools you, the question creeps in, now what? Is this awakening? Or is it the end of your drive? But that's rather like a child who discovers that hide and seek isn't serious business, and then declares, well then, I shan't play anymore. You see, the whole charm of a game
is that it isn't serious. If it were, it would be work. And the beauty of life is very much the same. When you awaken, you don't stop living. You simply stop clutching at life. You realize it's a dance, a play, a marvelous hide-and-seek between what you think you are and what you truly are. But the ego doesn't like that kind of play. The ego wants medals, trophies, something to wave about and say, "Look at me." And when it fails, it collapses into self-pity. "Oh no, I've lost my drive." What's really happened is quite the opposite. You've been set free from the dreary business of proving yourself, and in that freedom, the ordinary shines, walking barefoot across the floor, watching a leaf tumble through the air, each one a small miracle, if only you pause long enough to notice. Because, let's be honest, what most of us call motivation is usually nothing of the sort. It isn't energy. It's anxiety in a clever disguise. A little whisper inside that says, "Go on now. Achieve something, prove something, carve your initials into the universe before you vanish." So off you go, collecting medals, chasing money, buying a slightly faster car than your neighbor. Not because the doing is delightful, but because the thought of being nothing frightens you out of your skin. Curious, isn't it? You spend half your life exhausted, not for the thing itself, but to shine up this image of me. And then awakening happens. The curtain parts, the lights come up, and suddenly the actor notices the crown on his head is only paper. The whole performance, a comedy dressed as tragedy. Imagine a bird outside your window. It doesn't sing to impress you or to pass an audition. It doesn't say, "Listen, I've composed a new tune, I do hope you approve." It sings because singing is what a bird does. And when you awaken, life begins to move through you in just that way. Not to prove, not to compete, but simply to express itself. Like a tree putting out blossoms, or a river tumbling over stone. And here is the delicious secret. Awakening is not the end of passion, it is the end of pretense. You find yourself falling in love not with trophies or achievements, but with existence itself. The laughter of your child, the sound of rain on the roof, even the ache in your bones. All of it is music you had rushed past before. And a strange realization dawns. The very troubles you once cursed are part of the rhythm. Pain and joy, loss and gain. They shape one another as valleys shape the mountains. Without shadow, light is flat. Without ache, love is shallow. This is why you are here. Not to escape the dream, but to taste it. For what kind of game would it be if you could win at once? Without risk? Without surprise? The whole delight of being human is that it isn't easy. So awakening doesn't lift you out of the world. It drops you right into the thick of it. Heart open, laughing at the cosmic joke, grateful for every note in the symphony. And you see, the point was never to arrive anywhere. The point is that it's happening at all. So instead of being whipped along by fear or dragged about by ambition, a new kind of energy begins to move you. Not the restless push of must do, must win, but the effortless pull of delight. It's the difference between rowing a boat upstream until your arms ache and suddenly noticing the current is carrying you all along. Now don't mistake this for laziness. Play is not lazy. Children at play have more energy than any businessman chasing a deadline. A musician absorbed in his instrument. A craftsman shaping wood with care. A gardener lost in the rhythm of planting. All of them are moved by this other kind of fire. Not the fire of fear, but of joy. Life begins to act through you. As naturally as a tree putting out blossoms in spring. And you find you are no longer the manager, the pusher, the taskmaster. You are the expression. The river doesn't need motivation to flow. The sun doesn't get up in the morning saying, I'd better shine or else. And when you're awake, you discover you are not separate from that river, not apart from that sun. You are the same unfolding energy. And so your doing becomes like dancing. The steps are there, the rhythm is there, but it isn't forced. It's play. It's music. It's effortless. That is the energy of awakening. Not driven by the whip of should, but moved by the joy of being. And here's the marvelous joke of it all. When you stop grasping at meaning, life hands it to you everywhere. The ego thinks, if I can't be the hero, the conqueror, then what's left? But awakening flips the whole thing on its head. You begin to see that life was never asking you to conquer it, it was inviting you to join it. You discover a kind of freedom that was hiding in plain sight. The freedom to laugh at yourself, to stumble without shame, to play the game knowing full well it's a game. And from there, everything ordinary becomes radiant. Washing the dishes, walking the dog, talking nonsense with your friends. None of it is wasted, because none of it needs to be anything other than what it is. The meaning you were chasing all those years wasn't somewhere else. It was in the very act of living, unpolished, unpretentious, and already complete. Awakening doesn't take away your passion. It takes away the counterfeit fuel, fear, comparison, that restless itch to measure yourself against everyone else. When you stop treating life as a ledger to balance, life becomes lavish. You begin to notice beauty was never hiding from you. You were simply too busy chasing something else to see it. You see, the beauty of awakening isn't in having life all figured out. It's in discovering that life, just as it is, has always been unspeakably beautiful. Awakening is beautiful because it hands you back your own life. Before, you were living under a spell, pulled along by comparisons, fears, and the endless race to be enough. Awakening cracks that spell, and suddenly you can breathe. You discover that you were never missing anything, that nothing out there had the power to complete you, because what you were seeking was already in you all along. That recognition is not just relief, it's freedom. It's beautiful because it restores wonder. A child doesn't need a reason to chase fireflies. They do it because life itself is astonishing. Awakening returns you to that innocence, but with the depth of everything you've lived through. It's not naive joy, it's seasoned joy. The kind that knows pain and yet chooses to marvel anyway. It's beautiful because it softens you. Instead of clinging to control, you begin to trust. You see that even your struggles were part of the story that shaped you. And when you understand that, bitterness gives way to gratitude. What once felt like punishment reveals itself as preparation. What once looked like chaos begins to show its pattern. And above all, awakening reconnects you with the sacredness of existence itself. To be awake is to realize that life was never a problem to solve, but a mystery to behold. Every breath, every touch, every fleeting moment is a gift you don't own but are allowed to experience. Awakening doesn't make you abandon life, it makes you fall in love with it. Not because it's perfect, but because it's here, and you are here to witness it. That recognition is the gift. And the great joke is this: you don't need a reason to love it. You don't need to win at it. Being awake is simply falling in love with life over and over again for no reason at all. Like watching a bird cross the sky and suddenly feeling a gratitude so deep you can't explain it. gratitude that the bird exists and that you exist to see it. So awakening doesn't take you out of the world, it drops you right into the middle of it. Laughing, weeping, playing, knowing the whole time that the point was never to arrive anywhere. The point is that it's happening at all. So remember this, you are not here to prove you're alive. You are here to be alive. And once you see that, even the ordinary becomes extraordinary. To live awake is to let life hold you, instead of you holding life. It's to bow, not in resignation, but in reverence. Reverence for the sheer impossibility that you are here, that this world exists, that you get to taste it at all. And when you live that way, gratitude ceases to be something you practice. It becomes the air you breathe. You feel grateful for the good, and also grateful for the mistakes, for every wrong turn that opened a new road. Grateful even for the ones who hurt you, because without them you might never have learned to bend, to soften, to grow. You feel grateful for the arguments that taught you patience, for the failures that stripped away your pride, for the disappointments that pushed you deeper into yourself. And in the end, you feel grateful for everything, for the sky and the sea, for bread on the table and laughter in the street, grateful for traffic jams, for rain-soaked shoes, for the sheer fact that anything at all is possible, because awakening shows you this marvelous truth. Nothing is wasted. Not the joy, not the sorrow, not even the foolishness. It all belongs, and it is all part of the miracle that you are here to live it.